Hi everybody, this is Harmony with Cornerstone Stitchery and welcome to my channel. Here we talk about my crafting journey, which usually revolves around cross stitch, but we have some knitting and crochet thrown in lately. And that's kind of exciting because then it's not monotonous with just all these cross stitch projects. Thank you to everyone who has commented, liked, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate that so much. I know that there's so many videos that you could be watching, and it's great that you spend a couple minutes here with me every time I post a video, and I do appreciate that, so thank you so much. So today is actually Tuesday, July 9th. Usually I film on Sundays and post on Sundays, but it was quite warm by the time I got home from church on Sunday the 7th. And so I decided, since I had Tuesday off, then I would come up here right away in the morning and film. So the lighting may not be super great in here because the sun is up, but it's not quite peaked over the trees on the east side of the house yet. So we're gonna make this work, and I'll show you everything that I've stitched on this week and a couple of other things as well, at least one other thing. So we're gonna start with stitching, or knitting. I had a long weekend, as a lot of us did because of 4th of July. I had 4 days off of work, and we weren't going anywhere. We were just going to stay around home. My mother-in-law came over on Thursday, 4th of July for dinner. And so we spent a couple hours with her here at our house. But besides that, we weren't leaving. So I had this thought that it was going to be weekend of the sweater. So I'll start with that. If you've been watching for a while, if you've been following along, a while ago, I had started a 1943 knitting pattern for my daughter. She loves 1940s, 50s style. And so she picked out this sweater, and I was kind of apprehensive because the older patterns, they don't always give you all of the instruction because it's just kind of implied that you know that thing, whatever it is that they're talking about, so they don't give you instruction. This pattern isn't necessarily like that. It's actually really easy, easy to follow. There's a couple, and I'll show you the part that I did struggle with a little bit. So I picked this up and I said, I'm just going to knit as much as I can during the 4 days and see how far I can get. And I did put a stitch marker in, so that way we could keep track of how much I got done over the long weekend. And here we are. This is the back panel of the sweater. Yes, it looks really small, but it is not blocked yet. So it will be bigger. Plus, if you know anything about 1940s and 50s style, a lot of their outfits were actually very form-fitting, body conscious. And so this sweater is designed to be form-fitting. My gauge is a little different than, well, okay, let's back up. It is a UK pattern. So then, and it's from the early 40s, and it calls for number 9 and number 12 needles. I thought that I did a conversion properly, but when I used what I thought would have been equivalent to the number 9 for the ribbing, my daughter and I are like, there's no way. There's even blocked. There's no way that that's going to work. So I used what I found to be the number 12, and I just used it for the entire sweater instead of just the body. I used it for the ribbing as well. And my gauge was pretty on with the number 12. So this is the back. Now, this is the part that I struggled with, is that the underarm shaping, is that you knew how many stitches you had for the body. And when you got to the end of the row, if the pattern worked out, it was pretty safe that you got through that row A-okay. But then when you hear, usually with the modern patterns, if you decrease, it at least tells you how many stitches you decreased. So then you could go and do the math from, say you decreased 8 stitches and you had 100. Now you know that you needed 92. Well, it didn't do that until you got to the end of the armpit shaping. Then it told you how many stitches you were supposed to have. So what I did on the pattern is after each row, I wrote what I thought I was supposed to have. And I did end up with the correct amount of stitches at the end of the underarm shaping or the armpit shaping. I mean, I think it says both things. And then you knit for a while, and then you do some shoulder sloping, it says. And so that's panel 1. Well, that was, I stayed out till maybe 11 o'clock, 11:10, binding off. And so I finished that Saturday night. So then on Sunday morning before church, I cast on for the front panel, and it has all that ribbing, all this 1x1 ribbing. And so last night, Monday night, I finished the ribbing and I started the pattern. You do 1 increase row and then you jump right into the pattern. And on my increase row, I made a mistake. So I read the instructions wrong. So you have to remember, I started this one a while ago. I don't even know when I started it. So I had forgotten. So I had to rip out almost the entire increase row. And the increases are knit front and back and purl front and back. And if you've ever tried to unknit those, it was a little tricky. And then I get to the first row of the pattern, and it's very simple. It's knit some, purl some, knit some, purl some, all the way across, and I screwed that up. So this morning I had to unknit that, and it was like to here, and that, so I had to unknit that. And for me, like, unknitting purl stitches is a pain in the behind. I don't know if it's like that for everybody, but I find it fiddly. So then I put the first pattern row back in, and this is where we are. And this is, I'm going to put this away for now and pick it back up. Maybe like when I have like a whole Saturday where I can knit, I could probably get 2 pattern repeats done. And if I do that maybe 6 times, I should have the front completed, and then we just have to worry about the sleeves. Okay, so I'm reaching. I have the bag of yarn right over here. I am using fuzz in my mouth. Cascade 220 fingering. And you can see the price on here. It's $6 a skein. I just started my second skein. So here, right, where is it? Where's my ends? Over here. After the armpit shaping and halfway up from the end of the armpit shaping to the shoulder sloping, I ran out of my very first skein. That was 1 whole skein. I estimate that this will take 3 skeins. The pattern calls for 6 ounces, 3 skeins of, and mind you, that was in 1943. The person that sold me the pattern actually said that this yarn is probably the closest that I'm going to be able to get to the original classic wool that was used, or the original wool that was used in the pattern. And it's Cascade 220 fingering. And mind you, she's in the UK as well, but she loves vintage yarn as well. So she hunts up the original vintage wool that was used in all of those patterns. I will put her Instagram channel behind in the description box, because I think that she's, if you're a knitter or you just like fashion or you like design or to see pretty sweaters, there's something else. So I will put her information down below, but this is very affordable. So if I use 3 balls of this, 3 skeins, it will be an $18 sweater. $18. $18 handmade sweater. I'm in love with this yarn right now. And I actually found another sweater yesterday browsing on Ravelry that I think I could use this yarn for. And it's supposed to be a spring summer knit, you know, like a t-shirt. And I think this would be perfect. There are no names. It's 9429. It's a deep pine. And there's like 200 and some yards. 273 yards, 50 grams in each one of these. I ended up buying 9 because when I bought the yarn, I hadn't yet purchased the pattern from her. So I didn't know how much I was going to need. But I'm very happy with my purchase because you can choose to make short sleeves or long sleeves. And if you do long sleeves, you need 8 ounces. And how many ounces? It's 50 grams, but how many ounces is that? 1.75. So I would need 4 ounces to get through long sleeves if my daughter wants long sleeves, but we're not sure yet. So I have plenty. So then if I use 4 skeins, then I still have 5 skeins, and it will be plenty enough. I think I estimated I needed 3 for that other sweater. Oh, I'm so excited. And the other sweater is basically stockinette stitch, and then up till here, I don't know what you would call this, the yoke, I guess, is broomstick lace. Now, I've done broomstick lace before, and it's fiddly. Sometimes I made a scarf out of it, and I didn't think that it was worth the effort. But in the sweater, it's so adorable that I think I'm going to do it. I just have to buy the pattern. But I'm not going to do it right now because I have so many other things and so much other yarn that I have. But anyways, enough babbling about this. This is going to go away for a while, and I'll do something else. Okay, so the next knitting project is the Musselburg hat by Ysolda Teague. This is a knitting at lunch project, or bring it home and knit while I'm in the car with my husband. He's driving, I'm riding. So this is that project. I put a stitch marker in. I moved my stitch marker up to, I had forgotten. So I moved it to where I thought I started this last time since I've seen you last. And you will be surprised. Let me see if I can find it. Here's the stitch marker. So I have stitched all of this in the last 2 weeks. And I did knit a couple of rows here at the house because I needed to do something or other. And then last night I did have to weave my ends in because I was at work starting the crown decreases, and it says weave in your ends. I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to weave in my ends. So I did get my ends in the inside woven in yesterday. I had 3 because there was the flaw in the yarn from last time. So I had to fix that, and then my beginning end. So I did stitch this about 1 inch longer than the pattern called for, just because I think it gives the brim, whether you like a wide brim or an narrow brim, it gives you options. And then if your head is a little bit taller than, you know, what the pattern thought it was going to be, then it will fit. And this all stems from when I made mine, the brim is not long enough, and I knit it to pattern, or at least I thought I did. Maybe I measured it incorrectly. I don't know. And so there's nothing wrong with the pattern. This is the most fantastic pattern ever. Of course, the information will be below, and go get yourself the pattern. So I will be finishing this. I already grabbed the next yarn, and I did wind it off the ball. I'll show you what it looks like. This is what it looks like in the ball of yarn. And it's so super annoying because it twists up on itself. It gets stuck inside the ball. And so I actually wound, and not obviously not this one, but I chose a different color, and I wound it into a cake. And so that will be ball number 3 from this set. I have 6. There's this one, and this one that's greens and taupes and golds, and this green and blue one. So I thought about maybe striping these 2. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you think that this would be really cute striped, and it would give kind of a Christmas feel, even though it's not traditional red and green. It's more pinks and blue green. But let me know if you think that would be a good colorway, striped. And I could actually probably make 2 out of that, or I could make an adult size and see how much yarn I could use up, because that's my goal with these, that I don't like the yarn very much, so I would really like to use it up. And this is how much I have left of this ball, and it's not going to use this up to do the crown decreases. I might come close, but this is a lot of yarn left for the crown decreases. So, but my goal is to try to use up all of the yarn out of these so I don't have it left over. Eventually, if I have enough leftovers of all the fingering weight yarn, I will do like a cozy memories blanket or something, because what else am I gonna do with it? Or scrappy socks or something or other, I don't know. So anyways, on to cross stitching. No, we have a crochet project. This is my 2019 temperature blanket that I am using the 2024 pattern by Robin Parent. In order to get her pattern, you have to join the group, so I will post that below. This I only worked on, I think, twice. I think the last time I showed you, I had to rip out a couple rows. Well, it went into timeout, and I worked on other things. And what I did on this then when I picked it back up is I just put the rows back in that I had to rip out. And that's all I did because it was in timeout. So, I mean, I'm into March, just in the beginning of March here, like March 1st or 2nd. And that's not horrible considering I just started this June 2nd. It's been a month. And it was in timeout. So, not bad. I have 2 whole months completed. So, my original goal was to get the crocheting part done of the actual blanket by October 5th. That is obviously not going to happen because it was in timeout. In order to make the October 5th deadline happen, I would have to do 3 rows a day. So you go in timeout one day and you're behind 3 rows and that's an hour. So it's not going to be October 5th, but hopefully I can get back into it and maybe get it done by the end of the year. But hey, at this point, even if I get it done next June, it will be faster than the 2019 blanket was going to get done with the diamonds. So, okay, so the next thing that we have to talk about is cross stitching. And in one of my last videos, I said, I think I'm forgetting something. And I certainly was. I found it after I filmed. And so I'm going to show it to you now. Why not? So one time I had to place an order on Amazon and I got this Emma Congdon book, Cross Stitch for the Earth. I love all of her books, so hopefully I will collect them all. And I started, when you weren't looking, pardon the weeds, we're feeding the bees. These don't really have names. I have a bookmark in here, so it's messing up the pages. They don't really have names, they have numbers, so I just suggest that if you like her style of cross stitch patterns, just to go ahead and buy the book, because I can almost guarantee that you will like at least 2 of them in here. And for the price, it's I think I paid $14 to $16 for this on Amazon, and that it's worth the price for 2 patterns. There are, let me see if I can see how many are in here, just so you can know, like, there's 20 patterns in here. So if you like 2, it's about $7 per pattern. If you like 10, it's $1.40 a pattern. It is definitely worth your money. So I found that I didn't have a lot of the floss for this, so I did what I could. It doesn't look like much because in that pattern, there's a lot of back stitching to create the words and things. So it just looks like a bit of nonsense. I'm using 18 count, I'm spitting on it, oops, 18 count antique white Aida, and that is how far I got. I have no idea how many stitches I did because it's not imported into Pattern Keeper or anything, and I'm not counting my stitches at the moment. But I did a lot of the green, and there's like there's 3 colors of green. Some of the leaves have 2 colors, and then the other leaves have the opposite 2 colors, or, you know, a combination of the 3. And then there's the yellow and the gold, or the orange. I think there's just 1 color of each. I can't remember because I worked on this a while ago, and like I said, I forgot to show it to you, and I just found it this morning when I was trying to clean up a little bit before I get on with my day. So that's number 1. One thing that I thought that I forgot to show you. Okay, so then I had a new start because why not? Because I'm a crazy person. And it's the Beekeeper Bigfoot by SamBrie Designs. And I don't have all of the flosses for this one either, but I had enough to get started. The pattern calls for DMC 3031 for most of the brown, which is like the stand of the bee skep and the outline of these and the roof here on the birdhouse. I had it in another pattern and I'm like, okay, I only need a little bit. So I stole 2 strands, like 12 strands total, but 2 lengths. But then for the Bigfoot itself, it calls for Be Stitch Me Black Walnut, but the DMC conversion is the same as the other browns. So I'm doing all of the browns in the same color, 3031. I may have to steal a little bit more from the other project, but it's, well, let's see. I have 3 strands left, and I'll show you my progress. The other thing that I have to say about this is I am going to, there's a little hummingbird here, a green hummingbird. I'm not sure if you can see it. I'm going to change that a little bit to maybe give it, what color are hummingbirds? Are their bellies red or their wing tips red? I'm just going to put a little bit of red in there wherever it needs to be. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the bluebird and the birdhouse, and I'm just going to put a couple more bees in there instead. This is on the 18 count. Yes, the 18 count as well. And here you can see that I actually finished the Bigfoot. I put the net above his head, and then I finished the arch, both colors of the arbor. Sorry, I keep having to look at it because I can't see very well besides. So I finished the arch and the Bigfoot and the helmet, except for the back stitch. You do back stitch lines to up and down and across to make it look like netting. I didn't do that yet, obviously. I'm going to wait until the very end. That's going to be the last thing, just so that way I don't end up snagging it or something. So I would say that I'm almost 50% done with this. There's little tiny flowers on the arbor, and then on the pattern there's 4 bees, but I think I'm going to add 3, so there's 7 bees, a bee skep, and then the honeycomb at the top. So not a ton, but I need to get floss because I only have 3 colors. I stole the 3031, and I have 3345 from my stash, and then 782. I don't have any other colors for this particular pattern, but, oh wait, and then I have the 415, and I have the white. They're in here. So there's that one. And I'm hoping, if you've been with me for a while, you know that I'm on a budget. I try to not buy more patterns than what I can foreseeably stitch in the future. Did I use the right word? Foresee. That's kind of wordy, is it? I don't want to end up having a huge stash and have my family deal with it one day when I'm gone. Everybody has their own ideas behind this. That's fine on them. And I only have 2 hands, and I can only do so much. And with me doing cross stitch, crochet, and knitting, it can be a bit overwhelming. So I'm trying to keep my stash on the cross stitch down. So I figured I had that there. It was a small one. Let's go ahead and start it, get it done, get it hung up on the wall. And yeah, okay. So then what I decided to do was to pick up one of my whip go pieces for the year. I'm not doing a horrible job, but I'm not doing a fantastic job either at keeping up with my whip go. But I did 3 pretty good size patterns for the shop, and that took a lot of my time, and because then I had to frame them and make the charts and all that kind of thing. So it took up a lot of my time. So I'm not doing horrible, but I am going to try to pick these up. A lot of my goals were actually to work on it for a solid week. I've kind of changed that a little bit. As long as I get 500 stitches in them, I'll be good. Some of the smaller ones I have slated for a finish to get those off the whip list. If I can get that done, then I'll be happy with that too. This one's called the Halloween Mystery Sampler. This was from a Facebook group. I can't remember the actual group name, and I don't think I'm a member anymore, so unfortunately I won't be able to share it with you. It was no longer available inside of the group anyway, so you're not missing out on anything. This one called for, sorry, I have fuzz from some of that yarn. It called for white, green, orange, purple, and black. I didn't have the exact colors. Oh, and maybe a yellow. Yes, and a yellow. I didn't have the exact colors that the pattern called for. So what I did is I took out all of those colors from my stash and I started pulling to see which colors looked best all together as a group. And that's what I came up with. So I put in 672 stitches into this. I did the N and started the E. I did the body of the spider. I did this black, the skulls, that bat, and the skeleton. Oh, and I finished the cat. The cat down here, the purple cat, was only half done, and I finished him as well, and that was 672. And my previous count on this was about 500, so I have doubled the stitching, and I have a lot more to go. I was able to get this into Markup XP, because I think I had previously combined all of the sections together into one. However, it's not pulling the stitches and the colors properly. Like the stitch, it recognizes that they're stitches, but you have to manually select them as a stitch, and then you have to go back and mark them off, and there's not really a color associated with it. But listen, it counts how many stitches I'm doing, so I can tell you that stat, and it helps me keep track of where I am in the pattern, which for a pattern like this is not always necessary, but sometimes it's helpful. I think this might be ale, but I'm not really sure because I bought this a while ago and I don't always keep the tags. I don't think sometimes I have receipts everywhere. That's for shadow, so that's not it. So I don't always get the tags, and then in order to remember what it is, I would have to keep the receipt. I don't always keep the receipts. I'm a hot mess when it comes to that. I'm not the best person to with record keeping. Like, remember in January I made that really nice notebook to keep track of everything? Yeah, that lasted what, a month and a half. Mainly because the shop activity started, and so I didn't have time. Like, if I'm going to stitch on something besides a shop stitch, then I just have to stitch and not worry about anything else. Because it's summer and it's hot, I may not be able to film regularly on the days that I normally did, hence me being up here on a Tuesday instead of a Sunday. I might be able to film on Saturday mornings when we get back from grocery shopping before doing anything else. So bear with me, because this room gets extremely hot. The whole upstairs gets extremely hot. Like, you're talking low to mid 90s up here with no air conditioning, and I don't have a fan up here. I could probably find one, but what it's going to do is it's going to cause more noise for the video. And I know people don't like that either. So bear with me as we get through summer. When fall hits, I might be able to get back to that regular schedule. So just bear with me. And during this video or any of the videos that you've watched with me, I hope that you have seen something to give you inspiration to pick up a languishing whip, or maybe to even try something new. And until the next time that I see you, have a great week, have a great time, get some crafting in. Bye.